Thank you very much for your time.
Very nice to be in here. Good evening.
You were a significant executive at HIH, yes?
I like to think so, yes.
Have you given evidence yet?
Yes, I've been in there this week. I've had rather a stimulating time, to be honest. Is that what you want to talk about, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, broadly speaking, the management at HIH.
Yeah.
How the place ticked and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, OK. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Right, you give me $1 million and then...
Wait, hang on. $1 million? Why would I give you $1 million?
Well, you want me to work with you on this interview about HIH?
Well, yeah, but it's only an interview.
Yeah, but it's a very, very important interview. And who are you going to get to do an interview about HIH? I mean, you can't just get anyone to do it.
But I just wanted to talk to someone who was intimately involved in HIH.
Exactly my point. I'm glad we agree on this vital issue.
So what do we do?
You give me $1 million and then...
What's the $1 million for?
Well, it's an inducement fee. You need
inducement for what?
You need to induce me to do the interview. I need to be induced.
But hang on, you've already agreed to it.
Well, call it an agreement fee. I don't give a toss what you call it. But you give me $1 million.
But if I give you $1 million, you don't need to do the interview.
No, I don't need to, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Why?
Well, because I'm a top bloke and because I can see an opportunity in this for both of us. You give me $1 million and I give you $1 million.
To start the interview?
It's a start the interview fee. We'll call it a start the interview fee.
But hang on, we haven't got $1 million for starts.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's a technicality
well, what do you mean, don't worry
we can
about
come
it?
to later.
It's a big technicality to me.
Well, no, we can get the money when we sell shares in the interview.
What shares?
Well, son, our options aren't going to be worth a cracker, are they?
What
If we can't convert them into stock a bit later on. We're going to need shares.
This is just an interview.
Think of it not as an interview, but as an entertainment opportunity with a lot of blue sky.
Yes, but someone's going to have to buy this to make the whole thing work. I mean, there's the problem.
No. Someone's going to have to imagine that somebody else might buy it.
Well, someone's got to buy the idea of someone.
That's right. And somebody will. For example, the person who's going to sell the idea that somebody might buy it is going to have to believe in it, or he's not going to be very good at selling it.
Wait a minute. There's got to be an end user here. I mean, who's ultimately going to end up buying all this?
The taxpayer's going to pick up the bill in the long run. I want to talk to you about the short run.
The taxpayer doesn't even know we're having this conversation.
No. But look, if anybody does their dough on this, they're going to be able to write that loss off against their tax.
But the taxpayer didn't cause this.
No, the taxpayer's not a very entrepreneurial unit, if I can say that.
Just pays tax.
Case in point, absolute idiot. He deserves everything he's got coming to him, in my view.
Thanks for joining us.
I've got his address.
Dr. Kemp, thanks for your time.
Good evening. Very nice to be talking to you.
How's it going over there?
Well, it's a very, very interesting experience for me. It's a most fascinating place.
How did your address go?
I've got to say that was a bit character building, but if nothing else, I think that I've certainly expressed some very interesting ideas.
Did anyone come up to you and say that you'd expressed some interesting ideas?
I haven't had a lot of contact with the other delegates since I put Australia's position on the environment.
Yes, but Minister, as Minister for the Environment, surely you must have met other environment ministers.
As Minister for the Environment?
Yes, you are the Minister for the Environment, aren't you?
Just bear with me, will you? Minister for the Environment. Minister for the Environment, you said.
Minister for the Environment, yeah.
Minister for the Environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought you said. John? Yeah, it's David.
Isn't that why you're up there? That's why
I'm just doing an interview with somebody at the moment, John. No, somebody back there. What's your name?
Brian Dawe.
With Brian Doyle. And he's telling me, John, that I'm the Minister for the Environment. Is that right?
Well, it must be right, Minister. That's why you're up at the summit.
Look, John, I've got to tell you, I wish he pointed that out a little bit earlier than this. Well, because I'm over here arguing the opposite.
Minister, you are the Minister for the Environment.
I mean, I'm actually over here saying the Kyoto Protocols, John, aren't the point.
Well, of course they're the point. How can you move forward, Minister, if you don't accept the protocols?
No, well, you know what I said, John, because you saw it and because I discussed it with you before leaving. I basically got up there and told them all to go and get stuffed.
Minister,
no, look, I don't care how good it looked, John. It's completely out of keeping with that international thinking on the environment, which turns out what the conference is about.
Minister, does John know that Russia and China have agreed to sign the protocols?
Just hang on a minute, Barry. I'm just talking to John.
Yeah, and the fact that Australia is at the moment in the grip of the worst drought it's had in its history?
That's a very good point. Good point. Bill makes a good point, John.
Brian.
A lot of people at the conference here are saying to me, how can I, coming as I do from a country with a history of droughts and which is currently in the grip of one of the worst droughts in its own history, come here and argue that we shouldn't do anything about it?
Dr. Kemp, I wonder if
No. All right, I'll give it a go.
Dr. Kemp.
Yeah, of course it's a long shot, but I'll try anything at this stage, John. Just go back to your telly. I'll give it a crack.
Dr. Kemp.
Okay, bye. Sorry.
Dr. Kemp, as Minister for the Environment...
Can I just correct you there?
Yes, what?
I'm not the Australian Minister for the Environment.
What do you mean you're not? What are you?
I'm actually a wildebeest who has roamed unaccountably from his reservation and finds himself strangely in a television studio trying to conduct an interview about the environment with an interviewer in another country.
Dr. Kemp, thanks for your time.
Put yourself in my position.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's a great pleasure and good evening.
Now, you're running one of the bigger media organisations in this country.
Certainly am. That can be said without fear of contradiction.
And have you been happy with the coverage this week?
Of September the 11th?
Do you think there's been enough of it?
Yeah, we wondered that. You think we might have underdone it?
Well, you had uninterrupted coverage on your television stations, didn't you?
We did, yes. Well, we cancelled all our other programming.
What do you mean, cancelled it?
We took it off and put something on that a hell of a lot more people would watch.
Did it do well?
It did. Well, you did well, though. I'd take my hat off to the ABC. I thought your coverage was absolutely excellent. Every time I flicked over to the ABC, you had exactly the same footage we had. And I think that's important because it offers the public a choice.
Sure. Thank you. Did your papers have lift-outs and commemorative booklets and photos and so on?
Yeah, our paper yesterday came with a trolley.
Really?
Had 19 separate sections yesterday.
So why is the US ambassador saying he's not sure Australians understand the issues surrounding
Well, I don't know
11th?
why he said that, but I might say that in terms of running a news organisation, you need to prioritise the way that you cover news footage.
Well, what are you concentrating on at the moment? Are you analysis of trade in the Middle East?
I was thinking more the Bulldogs getting rubbed out and Wayne Carey going to Adelaide, and now Fletcher's been skittled for a couple of weeks. Fletcher's going to miss 2 finals.
Now, the reason I say this is because Mark Vail's over there at the moment, isn't he?
Mark Vaile is.
Yeah, he's in Iran.
Who's Mark Vaile?
Mark Vaile, the Trade Minister.
Mark Vaile.
Can I just ask you a question? Do you think the caution of the Europeans about an attack on Iraq represents a shift in the Western alliance?
In what way, do you reckon?
Well, I mean, aside from Tony Blair, the Europeans want to see evidence that Saddam Hussein is involved with weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, and is he?
Well, no, my point is that the US is getting most of its support from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, look, we're mainly an Australian news organisation, and we're mainly concerned with stories that affect Australia.
Yeah, well, did you do, for example, a huge lift out in the Sustainability Conference?
On the environment?
Yeah.
We're mainly concerned with things that are happening in Australia.
Well, the drought's here.
We're having a drought in Australia?
Yeah, of course we are. We're having a drought. Where do you live?
Lane Cove. But you see, what I mean is things that are actually happening here tend to be the focus of our media organisation.
So you're Australian-driven?
We're Australian-driven, that's the expression I'm... We're Australian-driven.
So you're about Aboriginal health issues, land rights...
I was thinking more house prices and preliminary finals.
And cafe lattes.
Yeah, and where to get a decent one.
Thanks for coming in.
That's a pleasure. This room would clean up nicely, wouldn't it, if they opened it up a bit?
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a wasted opportunity, really.
What would you do with it?
Put a window over there, I reckon. Harbour glimpses.
Get a mezzanine and it'd look good. It would look good.
Yeah, cantilever it out just above your brain.
Alexander Downer, thanks for joining us.
It's very nice to be on the program, and good evening.
Lovely to see you again.
It's very good to be seen.
Alexander Downer, how is it going?
Well, I have to say these are difficult times internationally.
Rather tense times, aren't they?
Yes, very, very tense times internationally, regrettably.
What is the current state of play?
The current state of play?
Yep.
What's the time?
5 to 8?
Yep. Well, the current state of play is that we have laid down Australia's conditions to Iraq.
And these are in line with the demands of the other nations?
They are. There's broad agreement about what needs to happen here internationally.
That Iraq is believed to be creating weapons of mass destruction?
Weapons of mass destruction, that's not on, that must stop.
Yes, that's bad.
That's a very bad thing.
Why is that bad?
Well, because nobody should have weapons of mass destruction, obviously.
No, because no one called Iraq.
No one called Iraq.
Iraq should have.
Sorry, I practiced this for an hour
weapons.
this morning. No one called Iraq should have weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair.
That's not fair.
Yeah. Should they have weapons perhaps of partial destruction?
They should perhaps have some limited number of weapons of some moderately destructive capability.
Well, how much destruction should their weapons be capable of?
I don't know, maybe, heat of the wall, it's a bang, bit of smoke and...
chairs falling over, that sort of thing.
A whiff of cordite, a bit of singeing.
Yeah,
but,
as long as no one gets hurt.
No people getting damaged, yes.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair either.
Wouldn't be fair.
What has Iraq got to do? Do they have to stop developing these...
Stop developing weapons of mass destruction, or else.
Or what?
Well, or else they will bring down upon their own heads the wrath of the US.
United Nations.
UN. Sorry,
UN.
I knew it was U something. UN, the UN.
What form will that take?
Oh, look, I don't wish to proscribe events prior to their occurrence.
Well, of course not. But will there be mass destruction?
There may be some minor element of mass destruction.
Using weapons?
Arguably through the agency of weaponry of some kind.
So, Mr Downer, what are we going to do?
What's Australia going to do?
Yeah.
Was that the phone ringing?
Pardon?
Is that phone line plugged into the back of the phone?
No, it wasn't the phone. So, Mr Downer, what are we going to do?
Australia?
Yep.
You didn't hear a ringing sound?
Mr Downer, are you waiting for a call?
No, not at all. If a piece of paper slides out, give it to us quickly. Just slide it along the floor, will you?
Mr. Downer, thanks for your time.
Have another couple of goes, son. Didn't hear a ringing. Does that phone line work?
Mr. Howard, thanks for your time.
Good evening. It's very nice to be with you.
You said this week that you're not going to sell the rest of Telstra.
Yeah, this is a business show, is it?
General show, news and current affairs, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Broad audience.
Yeah, very broad audience. Yeah.
Go to the country?
I'll go all over the country, huge. Yeah.
We will never sell Telstra under any circumstances.
Well, but previously you said you wouldn't sell the bit that you've already sold.
We will never sell the bit of Telstra that we've already sold under
Ever.
any circumstances.
Ever.
Not under any circumstances, ever.
Would you ever bring in a GST, Mr. Howard?
No, we'd never do that. But if we did, we would use the money to save the environment. That's what we'd do.
You're dedicated to saving the environment?
That would be the only reason we would ever bring a GST in.
Yeah, which you'd never do.
Which we'd never do under any circumstances.
Would you sign the Kyoto Protocol?
Only if it had something to do with the environment.
Mr. Howard, why wouldn't you sell Telstra?
Well, the nature of telecommunications infrastructure is terribly, terribly important in Australia.
And we're a very big country.
Who are you? I beg your pardon. I misunderstood.
I mean, there's a lot of territory to cover.
Yes, you've got to get the services right in the bush too before you require of it that it provide a return to shareholders.
Yes, because all the money would be made in the cities, wouldn't it?
Oh yes, no question about that. There's no money at all in running a wire out into the middle of Queensland.
Tell me, Mr. Howard, what is customer services?
Customer services. This is at Telstra?
Yeah.
Customer services, I've no idea what they might be. It's a good question. I'll bring that up at the inquiry.
Oh, we're having an inquiry into Telstra?
We have an inquiry into Telstra about once a month at the moment. I'll bring that one up at the next one.
Could this idea of customer service be service to customers, maybe?
Services by Telstra to its own customers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'd have heard about it by now if that were the case.
Well, could it be services by the customers?
To Telstra?
Yep.
Must be in the nature of that sort of thing, yes indeed.
Why would you say that?
Well, because we know it's not a service by Telstra to the customers. We must proceed, you see, from the known into the unknown.
Sure. Mr. Howard, what is the point in having Telstra if we don't know what it is?
Customer services?
Yeah.
Good question. We could get rid of them. That would improve the bottom line too, of course.
Why would you want the bottom line to look better?
Well, get more money for it.
Right, when we don't sell it?
Well, even before we don't sell it, it's good to have the market see what's going on.
Before they don't buy it?
No.
Right. Do you mean yes?
No.
Do you mean no?
Yes.
Mr. Howard, thanks for your time.
Good morning.